No bargain dress at Dad's gala. My sister barred the entrance. Moments later, Dad's top investor strode in, nodded respectfully, and said, "Chief Architect, I had no idea this was your father's event. The falat was..."
The screech of tires against asphalt jolted me awake, my heart slamming against my ribcage as my Toyota hybrid swerved violently. Headlights blinded me through the rearview mirror, a black SUV bearing down like a predator. I gripped the wheel, my knuckles white, as the vehicle rammed my bumper, sending my car fishtailing across the San Francisco coastal highway. The Pacific Ocean churned darkly to my left, a sheer drop beyond the guardrail. It was 7:42 p.m. and I was late for my father's 60th birthday gala, but someone or something didn't want me to get there alive. I floored the accelerator, my modest sedan no match for the beast behind me. The SUV's engine roared, closing the gap. My mind raced. Why me? I'm Emily Carter, 35, a nobody to the world, or so my family thinks. They see a broke graphic designer scraping by in a cramped Mission District apartment, driving a 2018 Toyota with a dented fender. They don't know I'm the CTO of Synaptech, a $3 billion zero-cents AI empire I built from a dorm room. They don't know I'm their secret savior, the one who bought my father's failing company to keep it from bankruptcy. And tonight, I'd planned to test them one last time, to see if they could love me for who I am, not what I own. But this chase, this was something else. Someone knew my secret and they were hunting me for it. The SUV swerved, trying to force me toward the cliff. I yanked the wheel right, tires screaming, barely avoiding the edge. My phone buzzed on the passenger seat, but I couldn't look, not now. The gala was at my father's waterfront mansion in Tiburon, a glittering spectacle of San Francisco's elite. I was supposed to be there, in my simple black dress, defying their expectations. Instead, I was fighting for my life on a desolate stretch of Highway 1. Another jolt rocked my car, metal grinding against metal. The SUV's tinted windows hid the driver, but I caught a glint, something metallic in their hand. A gun? My breath hitched. I scanned the road ahead, spotting a narrow turnout. It was risky, but I had no choice. I feinted left, then jerked right, pulling onto the gravel shoulder. The SUV overshot, brakes squealing as it skidded past. I didn't wait. I slammed into reverse, spun around, and gunned it back toward the main road, my heart pounding like a war drum. The SUV's taillights flared in the distance, turning to pursue, but I had a head start. Minutes later, I pulled into a gas station, my hands trembling as I parked behind a dumpster. The SUV hadn't followed, but I wasn't safe. I grabbed my phone, seeing a text from Mia, my best friend and Synaptech's COO. "Where are you? Gala's starting. Your sister's already throwing shade." I ignored it, my eyes darting to the rearview mirror. No headlights, no movement, but my tires, God, they were slashed, the rubber shredded like paper. Someone had tampered with my car before the chase even began. This wasn't random. This was personal. I stepped out, the ocean breeze biting my skin through my black dress. It was nothing fancy, no designer label, no sequins, just clean lines and quality fabric. My grandmother's pearl necklace hung at my throat, the only adornment I cared about. My family would hate it. They always did. To them, I was the disappointment, the one who never made it. My father, William Bennett, would shake his head at my cheap clothes. My mother, Catherine, would suggest a makeover, her voice dripping with pity. My sister, Olivia, 38 and obsessed with status, would smirk and call me the thrift store queen. They had no idea I could buy their entire Pacific Heights estate with a single stock sale, and I'd kept it that way, hiding my success to see if they'd ever value me without the glitter. But now, standing in the gas station's flickering light, I felt exposed, vulnerable. I checked my purse for my keys and froze. Tucked inside was a folded note written in sharp block letters, "Reveal your secret or you'll regret it." My stomach dropped. Someone had been close enough to slip this into my bag. Maybe at the coffee shop this morning, maybe even in my apartment. The thought made my skin crawl. Who knew about Synaptic? My family didn't. Mia did, but she'd die before betraying me. Daniel Harper, our biggest investor, knew, but he was at the gala, probably sipping champagne with my clueless father. So, who was this? I tore the note to pieces, scattering it in the wind. No time for panic. I called a tow truck and an Uber, my mind spinning. The gala was my chance to confront my family's shallow values, to walk into their world of wealth and prove I didn't need it to be enough. But this threat, this changed everything. Someone wanted to silence me, and I had no idea why. With growing up, we weren't rich. Our Oakland bungalow was a 3-bedroom relic with peeling paint and a leaky roof. My father, William, poured 60-hour weeks into Bennett Logistics, a small shipping company teetering on failure. My mother, Catherine, stretched every dollar, sewing patches on my jeans and cooking casseroles that lasted days. Olivia and I shared a room, our bunk beds creaking under posters of boy bands and tech pioneers. Back then, Dad valued grit. He'd sit us down at Sunday dinners, his calloused hands slicing roasts, and say, "Character builds empires, not cash." I believed him. We all did. Everything changed when I was 16. Bennett Logistics landed a contract with a major retailer and money flooded in. Within months, we left Oakland for a Pacific Heights estate, a sprawling mansion with marble floors and bay views. Dad traded his pickup for a Bentley. Mom started hosting charity galas instead of family game nights. Olivia, 2 years older, transformed overnight. She ditched her childhood friends for Instagram influencers, swapped her Gap hoodies for Gucci, and lectured me on looking the part. "It's not enough to have money, Emily," she'd say, tossing her hair. "You have to show it." Mom never challenged her. Instead, she became Olivia's cheerleader, funding shopping sprees and praising her social climbs. She'd nudge me to dress better, her eyes lingering on my sneakers with quiet disappointment. Their new mantra was clear. Wealth was status, and status was everything. I watched my family rewrite themselves, their old values buried under designer labels and exclusive clubs. It felt like betrayal. The Sunday dinners I loved, where we'd laugh over burned potatoes, became staged performances, with Mom critiquing my posture and Dad boasting about his new connections. I was a stranger in my own home. Olivia's change was the sharpest. She'd always been the prettier one, the charmer, but now she wielded her beauty like a weapon. She'd breeze into rooms, her heels clicking, and command attention with a single smile. Her new friends were the daughters of CEOs, hedge fund managers, tech moguls. She'd roll her eyes when I wore my favorite flannel, muttering, "God, Emily, you look like you're homeless." Mom would laugh, as if it were a joke, but the sting lingered. Dad, once my biggest supporter, grew distant, his focus on networking and expansion. "You need to think bigger, Emily," he'd say, as if my dreams were too small for his new world. At 18, I escaped to UC Berkeley, choosing computer science over the Ivy League schools they pushed. "You're throwing away your future," Dad snapped, his voice heavy with disapproval. He didn't get it. Code was my sanctuary, a world where logic ruled, not appearances. I thrived in the chaos of algorithms, where a single line could solve problems or crash systems. It didn't care about my clothes or my bank account. It just worked, or it didn't. College wasn't glamorous. I juggled night shifts at a diner with a full course load, surviving on coffee and vending machine chips. My family saw my exhaustion during rare visits and assumed I was failing. "You look tired, sweetheart," Mom would say, her tone implying I'd chosen the wrong path. Olivia would smirk, flaunting her new Birkin bag, a gift from some tech heir she was dating. They never asked about my work, never knew I was coding an AI model that could process data faster than anything on the market. Between shifts, I built my first prototype, my fingers flying over the keyboard in Berkeley's computer lab until dawn. Junior year, everything changed. My AI model, a neural network for real-time data analysis, won a global tech competition. The $500,000 0 cents prize was a lifeline. I could have bought a fancy car, moved to a better apartment, or flown to Paris like Olivia did every summer. Instead, I rented a tiny studio in the Mission District and founded Cineplex. The early days were brutal. I lived on instant noodles, my office a folding table wedged between a futon and a stack of server racks. Every dollar went to cloud storage and beta testing. When my family called, I kept it vague, dodging their questions. "Still wearing those ratty jeans?" Olivia would tease over FaceTime. "You know fashion exists, right?" They didn't see the late nights, the code that broke and broke me, the moments I doubted I'd ever succeed. They didn't see Synaptech grow from a one-woman operation to a 500-person powerhouse, its AI now powering everything from medical diagnostics to financial trading. By 30, we were valued at $3 billion, 0 cents, and I was one of the youngest CTOs in Silicon Valley. Forbes called me a tech visionary. Wired dubbed Synaptech the future of intelligence. And my family? They still thought I was freelancing for startups barely scraping by. I hid it on purpose, not out of spite, but curiosity. Would they ever see me, really see me, without the trappings of wealth? Their constant jabs about my clothes, my car, my failure became a test they kept failing. Every Sunday dinner at their mansion was the same. Dad boasting about his latest deal, Mom showing off a new Rolex, Olivia arriving in a fresh designer gown with a hedge fund boyfriend in tow, and me in my thrift store sweater, absorbing their pity like a punch. "Emily, darling, isn't it time for a real job?" Mom would say. "I know a dealer who could get you a Tesla," Dad would offer, as if my Toyota offended him. "God, Emily, that outfit is so practical," Olivia would sneer, the word sharp as a blade. 6 months ago, the stakes got higher. Bennett Logistics, Dad's pride and joy, started crumbling. Market shifts and his outdated strategies left him drowning in debt. I learned through industry channels he was begging for investors, his desperation palpable. After sleepless nights and boardroom debates, Synaptech acquired his company through a shell corporation. The deal was generous, better than he'd get anywhere else. Overnight, I became his boss, though he didn't know it. The irony wasn't lost on me. The daughter he pitied was saving his legacy. Tonight's gala was supposed to be my final test. Dad described it as the event of the season, a networking extravaganza for San Francisco's elite. The invitation embossed with gold read, "Black tie elegance required, excellence expected." Olivia texted separately, "Please, Emily, don't show up looking like a hobo. Dad's counting on this." I'd decided to go as myself, no flash, to see if they'd accept me without the CEO title, but the chase, the note, the slashed tires, they screamed danger. Someone knew my secret and they weren't playing games. The Uber dropped me at the Tiburon mansion, its glass facade glittering against the bay. Luxury cars lined the driveway. Lamborghinis, Porsches, a Rolls-Royce Phantom gleaming under floodlights. Valets in crisp uniforms darted between them, their faces practiced masks of deference. I stepped out, my black dress catching the breeze, and caught a valet's smirk as he glanced at my scuffed flats. The judgment had already begun, and I hadn't even crossed the threshold. The entrance was a spectacle. Crystal champagne fountains, orchid arrangements towering like sculptures, ice carvings of Dad's company logo melting under strategic lighting. Guests floated through, women in couture gowns dripping with diamonds, men in bespoke tuxedos exuding old money. I felt like an intruder in my own family's world. My phone buzzed. Mia again? You here? Olivia's telling everyone you're a starving artist. I typed back, just arrived, race for impact. I adjusted my purse, the threatening note's words echoing in my mind. Reveal your secret, or you'll regret it. My eyes scanned the crowd, searching for anything out of place. A masked figure, a suspicious glance. Nothing stood out, but the unease lingered. I took a deep breath and stepped forward, only to be stopped by Olivia, stationed at the entrance like a glamorous gatekeeper. Her red Versace gown hugged her curves. Diamonds glittering at her throat, her eyes locked on me, and her face twisted in horror. "Emily, what the hell are you wearing?" she hissed, her voice low but venomous. She grabbed my arm, pulling me aside. "Are you trying to ruin Dad's night?" I glanced at my dress, then met her gaze. "Good to see you too, Olivia. I'm clean, presentable, and here. What's the problem?" "The problem?" Her eyes raked over me, from my flats to my unstyled hair. "This is a black tie gala, not a coffee shop. Dad's got investors here, tech moguls, senators. Daniel Harper, you look like you rolled out of a thrift store." "Maybe I value substance over surface," I said evenly. "Success isn't about clothes." She laughed, sharp and bitter. "Success? You wouldn't know success if it slapped you. I'm building a brand, Emily. Dad's saving his company. What are you doing? Doodling logos for startups?" Her words stung, but I kept my cool. "Judging people by their appearance is what's embarrassing, Olivia." "Save it," she snapped, waving for Dad. "You're not coming in like that. Dad, we've got a situation." William appeared, resplendent in a tuxedo, his silver hair gleaming. For a split second, I hoped he'd defend me, see past the dress to the daughter he'd raised. That hope died when his eyes landed on me. "Emily," he said, his voice heavy with disappointment. "What is this?" "Happy birthday, Dad," I tried, forcing a smile. "You look great." "Don't dodge the question," he said, gesturing at my outfit. "This is disrespectful. You knew tonight was important." "Important to you or your image?" I asked quietly. I didn't realize family required a dress code. His face reddened. "This isn't just family. It's business. Investors are watching. They'll judge me, us, by how you present yourself. You look like you don't belong here." The words cut deeper than I expected. My own father, turning me away because I didn't fit his vision of success. Before I could respond, Mom approached, her Chanel gown shimmering. "William? What's wrong?" She saw me and froze. "Oh, Emily, sweetheart. Why? Like this?" "She showed up looking like an intern," Olivia said, as if I were invisible. "It's humiliating." Mom's eyes softened, but her words betrayed her. "Darling, I'm sure we can find something. Maybe one of the staff has a spare dress?" "Server's uniform." That's what she thought was better than my clothes. The humiliation burned, but I stood taller. "I'm not changing," I said firmly. "Either I'm welcome as I am, or I'm not." Dad's jaw tightened, his eyes flicking to the guests watching us. "Emily, I think it's best if you come back when you're dressed appropriately. This is my night." "Lawrence, don't," Mom started, but he cut her off. "My event, my rules," he said. "You knew what was expected." I swallowed the lump in my throat. "Happy birthday, Dad. Hope it's everything you wanted." I turned, feeling the weight of their stares as I walked away. Olivia's voice followed, whispering to Dad, "You did the right thing." Instead of leaving, I slipped onto the mansion's terrace, a quiet oasis of manicured shrubs and twinkling lights. The bay stretched before me, its waves a stark contrast to the chaos in my chest. I sank onto a bench, pulling out my phone to distract myself with work. Synaptech emails flooded my inbox, updates on our latest AI model, a pitch for a Pentagon contract. The irony hit hard. I was saving Dad's company from this bench, exiled from his party for looking too poor. Then I heard it, a rustle in the shrubs. My head snapped up, my pulse spiking. A figure emerged, tall and shadowed, their face obscured by a hood. "Emily Carter," they said, their voice low and deliberate. "You've been hiding too long." I stood, my hand clutching my phone like a weapon. "Who are you? What do you want?" They stepped closer, and I saw it, a glint of steel in their hand. A knife. "Your code," they said. "Synaptech's neural core. Hand it over, or this Gala becomes a bloodbath." My heart raced, but I forced myself to stay calm. "You're bluffing. You don't even know what you're asking for." "Don't test me," they growled, advancing. "I know who you are, and I know what you're worth." I backed away, my mind scrambling. The terrace was secluded, the party's music drowning out any chance of being heard. I had no weapon, no backup, but I had my wits. "You want the code?" I said, stalling. "It's not on me. It's encrypted, locked in a server you'll never crack." "Then you'll get it," they said, raising the knife. "Or I start with your family." A scream caught in my throat, but before I could react, a spotlight swept across the terrace. A security guard's voice called out, "Who's there?" The figure froze, then bolted into the shadows, vanishing as quickly as they'd appeared. I collapsed against the bench, my breath ragged. The guard approached, his flashlight blinding. "Ma'am, you okay?" "Yeah," I lied, my voice shaking. "Just needed some air." He nodded, unconvinced, and moved on. I checked my phone, my hands still trembling. A new email waited, anonymous, with a single line. "You can't hide forever." Attached was a photo of me, taken minutes ago, sitting on this very bench. The terrace was no longer a sanctuary. My pulse still raced from the knife-wielding stranger's threat, their words, "I know what you're worth," echoing like a siren in my mind. The San Francisco Bay glittered beyond the Tiburon mansion, its calm surface mocking the chaos churning inside me. I was Emily Carter, 35, CTO of Synaptech, a $3 billion zero-cents AI empire. But to my family, I was a failure in a thrift store dress. Tonight was supposed to be my final test, a chance to see if they could love me without knowing I'd saved my father's company from ruin. But the slashed tires, the car chase, the threatening note, and now this thug demanding my proprietary code, they weren't coincidence. Someone knew my secret, and they were closing in. I clutched my phone, the anonymous email's photo of me on this very bench burning in my memory. You can't hide forever. My fingers hovered over Mia's contact, my best friend and Synaptech's COO, but I stopped. Calling her would mean admitting I was scared, and I wasn't ready for that. Not yet. The Gala's music pulsed through the mansion's open doors, a reminder of the world I'd been banished from. My father, William Bennett, had called my simple black dress a disgrace. My sister, Olivia, had blocked me at the entrance, her $20,000 zero-cents gown a stark contrast to my grandmother's pearl necklace. My mother, Catherine, had suggested a maid's uniform as an upgrade. Their rejection stung, but it was nothing compared to the danger now stalking me. A new sound broke my thoughts. Footsteps, deliberate and heavy, crunching on the gravel path. I froze, my hand tightening around my phone. The security guard was gone, his flashlight no longer sweeping the terrace. I scanned the shadows, expecting the hooded figure to reappear, knife gleaming. Instead, a silhouette emerged, taller, broader, in a tailored tuxedo. Daniel Harper, tech titan and Synaptech's biggest investor, stepped into the moonlight. His silver hair caught the glow, his sharp eyes locking onto me with a mix of concern and curiosity. "Emily Carter, what the hell are you doing out here?" he asked, his voice low but commanding. "The party's inside." I stood, smoothing my dress to hide my trembling hands. "Daniel, I didn't expect you so soon." He closed the distance, his gaze narrowing. "You look like you've seen a ghost. What's going on?" I hesitated. Daniel knew me as the CTO of Synaptech, not the underachieving daughter my family mocked. If I told him about the thug, the note, the chase, he'd demand answers. Answers I didn't have. Worse, he might blow my cover, outing me as the billionaire genius who'd secretly acquired my father's failing company, Bennett Logistics. I needed to keep this contained, at least until I understood the threat. "Just needed a breather," I said, forcing a smile. "Family drama, you know." He didn't buy it. "Family drama doesn't leave you looking like you're about to bolt. Spill it, Emily. I don't invest in people who keep secrets from me." The irony wasn't lost on me. I'd kept my entire life a secret from my family, testing their values by living modestly while building a $3 billion zero-cents empire. But Daniel's tone, laced with authority, reminded me why he was a legend in Silicon Valley. He'd turned startups into unicorns, and his stake in Synaptech gave him leverage. I couldn't lie outright, but I could deflect. "It's complicated," I said. "My family doesn't know about Synaptech. They think I'm struggling. I'm here to see if they can accept me without the title. But things got heated at the entrance. They didn't like my outfit." Daniel's eyebrows shot up, his laugh sharp and incredulous. "Let me get this straight. The woman who built the world's most advanced AI, who just saved 2,000 jobs by acquiring her father's company, got kicked out of a party for wearing, what, a perfectly fine dress?" "Ha, pretty much," I said, my cheeks warming. "Welcome to the Bennett family." "That's not just absurd, it's insulting," he said, his voice hardening. "You're the most brilliant mind I've ever backed, and they're judging you on fashion? Who's running this circus? Your father?" "William Bennett," I confirmed. "He's hosting. Olivia, my sister, is playing bouncer. Mom's enabling as usual." Daniel shook his head, his expression a mix of amusement and outrage. "I've been trying to meet William for months. Bennett Logistics has potential, but his management's stuck in the 90s. I was considering investing before I learned Synaptech scooped it up." "And he has no idea his daughter's my partner in half a dozen ventures?" "Life's full of ironies," I said, managing a wry smile. He studied me, his eyes softening. "You could have told them, Emily. Walked in there with your title and shut them up. Why hide?" The question hit hard. I'd asked myself the same thing 1,000 times. I wanted to be valued for who I am, not what I've built. Naive, maybe, but it's the truth. "Not naive," he said firmly. "Principled. It's why you're a damn good CTO. You care about substance, not flash. But sitting out here isn't you. You don't run from fights." He was right. I'd faced down boardroom sharks, patent wars, and server crashes that could have tanked Synaptech, but family? That was harder. And now, with a knife-wielding thug and a cryptic note, the stakes were deadly. Before I could respond, a scream pierced the air, sharp and panicked, coming from the mansion. Daniel's head snapped toward the sound. "What the hell was that?" My stomach lurched. The thug's threat, "Or this gala becomes a bloodbath," flashed in my mind. I bolted toward the entrance, Daniel close behind. The terrace doors led to a marble foyer where guests were clustering, their murmurs rising in alarm. I pushed through, my heart pounding, and saw the source. A man in a tuxedo, middle-aged and pale, collapsed on the floor near the champagne fountain. A woman knelt beside him, sobbing, as a waiter called for a doctor. "Stay back," A security guard barked, waving the crowd away. I froze, my eyes darting to the glass in the man's hand, its contents spilled across the marble. Champagne? Or something else? My mind flashed to the note, the thug, the chase. Was this connected? I scanned the room, searching for the hooded figure, but the sea of couture and tuxedos blurred together. Then I saw it. A waiter, slipping through a side door, his movements too quick, too deliberate. My gut screamed, he's not just a waiter. "Emily, what's wrong?" Daniel asked, his hand on my arm. "I don't know yet," I said, my voice low, "but I need to check something." I moved toward the bar, where I'd left my untouched drink earlier. The gala had been a whirlwind of judgment, and I'd grabbed a glass of champagne to steady my nerves, only to set it down when Olivia confronted me. Now I found it. Same spot, same half glass, but something was off. A faint residue clung to the rim, powdery and unnatural. My breath caught. I glanced at the collapsed guest, then back at the glass spiked. Someone had tried to drug me, and I dodged it by pure luck. I swapped my glass with an empty one from the bar, my hand steady despite the panic clawing at my chest. I couldn't prove it yet, but the pieces were falling into place. The thug wanted my code. The note demanded I reveal my secret, and now a poisoned drink meant for me had taken down an innocent guest. This wasn't just about exposing me. It was about control, maybe even murder. "Emily!" Olivia's voice cut through the chaos. She stormed toward me, her red gown trailing like a warning flag. "What are you doing back here? I told you to leave." "Not now, Olivia," I said, my eyes still scanning for the suspicious waiter. He'd vanished, but I caught a glimpse of a black-clad figure slipping into the ballroom. "Don't you dare ignore me," she snapped, grabbing my arm. Her nails dug into my skin, her face a mask of fury. "You're embarrassing us. Dad's trying to save his company, and you're prancing around like a charity case." I yanked my arm free, my patience gone. "Embarrassing you? You blocked me from my own father's party because of a dress. Maybe you're the one who should be ashamed." Her eyes widened, then narrowed. "You have no idea what's at stake, Emily. Dad's got investors here. Daniel Harper, for God's sake. If you ruin this—" "Enough," Daniel interrupted, stepping between us. His presence was a wall, his voice calm but unyielding. "Miss Bennet, I suggest you lower your voice. I was just having a fascinating conversation with Emily in the garden. She's far from an embarrassment." Olivia's jaw dropped, her gaze darting between us. "Mr. Harper? You know Emily?" "Quite well," he said, his tone deceptively mild. "We share several business interests. I was surprised to find her outside, excluded for something as trivial as her attire." Olivia's face paled, her social mask cracking. "There was a misunderstanding. The dress code is irrelevant," Daniel cut in. "Emily dresses for success, not show. You'd do well to learn the difference." The words hung in the air, heavy with implication. Olivia's eyes flicked to me, calculation replacing shock. She was piecing it together. Daniel Harper, a billionaire investor, treating me with respect. But she didn't know the half of it. Not yet. Before she could respond, another commotion erupted. The ballroom doors swung open, and my father strode in, his tuxedo impeccable but his face strained. "What's going on?" he demanded, his eyes landing on the collapsed guest, then on me. "Emily, I thought I made myself clear." "Happy to see you too, Dad," I said, my voice steady despite the hurt. "I came to wish you a happy birthday. Didn't expect to be banned for it." His jaw tightened, his gaze flicking to the crowd. Guests were watching, their whispers a low hum. "This isn't the time. You're causing a scene." "No, you caused a scene," I shot back, my anger breaking through. You and Olivia decided I wasn't good enough because I don't dress like a runway model. That's on you. Emily, please, my mother said, appearing at Dad's side. Her Chanel gown shimmered, but her eyes were anxious. Let's not do this here. We can find you something to wear, a staff dress, maybe. The suggestion hit like a slap. A maid's uniform? I said, my voice rising. That's what you think of me? I'm your daughter, not a prop to dress up for your image. Enough, Dad barked, his face reddening. This is my night, my rules. If you can't respect that, you need to leave. The words were a knife, twisting deep. I stood there, absorbing the rejection, the crowd's stares burning into me. But before I could respond, a deafening crash shattered the tension. Above me, a massive chandelier of crystal and gold worth more than my car plummeted from the ceiling. I dove to the side, my shoulder slamming into the marble floor as glass exploded around me. Screams filled the air, guests scattering like roaches. Emily? Daniel shouted, pulling me to my feet. Are you okay? I nodded, my ears ringing, my dress torn at the hem. Shards of crystal glittered on the floor, inches from where I'd stood. My eyes shot to the ceiling, where the chandelier's cable hung, frayed and unnatural. Cut. This wasn't an accident. The thug's threat, the spiked drink, the note. It was all connected. Someone wanted me dead. Get her out of here, Olivia shrieked, pointing at me as if I'd caused the crash. She's bad luck. Bad luck? I snapped, my fear morphing into fury. Or maybe someone doesn't want me here. Ever think of that? Her eyes widened, but before she could respond, I caught a movement in the crowd. The black-clad figure, the waiter, slipping toward a side exit. I didn't think. I ran, dodging guests and broken glass, Daniel calling after me. The exit led to a service corridor, dimly lit and lined with crates. The figure was ahead, their footsteps echoing. I slowed, my breath shallow, every shadow a potential threat. Hey! I shouted, my voice bolder than I felt. Who are you? What do you want? The figure stopped, turning slowly. Their face was obscured by a hood, but their voice was chillingly familiar. The thug from the terrace. You're smarter than they think, Emily, but not smart enough to walk away. Walk away from what? I demanded, my fists clenched. You're after my code, but you're not getting it. Tell me who sent you. They laughed, low and menacing. You think this is just about code? You're in deeper than you know. Check your family's closet. Plenty of skeletons there. Before I could respond, they hurled a crate at me, wooden splinters flying. I ducked, the crate smashing against the wall. By the time I looked up, they were gone, the corridor empty. My heart pounded, their words searing into me. Family's closet? What did that mean? Olivia? Dad? Someone else? I stumbled back to the ballroom, my mind racing. The crowd was calming, paramedics attending to the collapsed guest who was conscious but disoriented. Daniel found me, his face grim. Emily, we need to talk. He pulled me to a quiet alcove, his voice urgent. I just overheard something. Victor Klein, that sleazy CEO from Nexus Corp, was bragging about a leak that'll ruin Synaptech. He knows about the Bennett Logistics acquisition. My blood ran cold. Victor Klein, a rival who'd tried to poach Cinepec's talent for years, was at the gala. If he leaked the acquisition, my cover would be blown, and Dad's company would face scrutiny before we could stabilize it. How does he know? I asked, my voice tight. I don't know, Daniel said. But he's talking to your sister right now, and she's not exactly defending you. I followed his gaze. Across the room, Olivia was laughing with Klein, her hand on his arm, her eyes darting to me. My stomach twisted. Earlier, I'd overheard her plotting to handle me tonight to save face for the family. Was she working with Klein, betraying me to a rival? The thought was a punch, but it fit. Olivia's obsession with status would make her the perfect pawn. "We need to stop her," I said, starting toward them, but Daniel grabbed my arm. "Not yet," he said. "You go in guns blazing, you'll tip Klein off. Let me handle him. You deal with your family." I nodded, my mind spinning. The threats were piling up: spiked drinks, falling chandeliers, a thug after my code, and now a rival CEO with my sister in his pocket. But Daniel was right. My family was the heart of this mess. I needed to confront them, not just for me, but to understand the skeletons the thug had hinted at. I found Dad near the stage, addressing the crowd, his voice strained but polished. "A minor incident, folks. Please, enjoy the evening." His eyes met mine, and for a moment I saw guilt, but it vanished as Olivia joined him, whispering something that made his face harden. "Emily," he said, stepping off the stage. "You're still here?" "Someone tried to kill me tonight," I said bluntly, watching his reaction. "The chandelier wasn't an accident. Neither was the spiked drink that took down your guest." His eyes widened, but Olivia cut in. "Don't be dramatic, Emily. You're just trying to steal attention." "Attention?" I laughed, bitter and raw. "You threw me out because of my dress. Now someone's targeting me, and you're too busy playing socialize to notice." "Enough," Dad said, his voice low. "You're upsetting your mother." I turned to Mom, who stood nearby, her hands twisting nervously. "Mom, tell me you see this. Someone's after me, and it's connected to this family." She hesitated, her eyes darting to Dad. "Emily, sweetheart, you're overreacting. It's just a party." Her dismissal broke something in me. I'd spent years hoping they'd see me, really see me, without the Synaptech title. But they were blind, wrapped in their world of wealth and status. And now, with danger closing in, their denial felt like betrayal. "Fine," I said, my voice steady despite the tears pricking my eyes. "You don't believe me? Watch this." I strode to the stage, grabbing the microphone from the stunned band leader. The crowd turned, their murmurs falling silent. Olivia gasped, rushing toward me, but I ignored her. My heart pounded, but I was done hiding. "Ladies and gentlemen," I said, my voice echoing through the ballroom, "my name is Emily Carter. You know me as William Bennett's daughter, the one who doesn't fit in. But there's something you don't know. I'm the CTO of Synaptech, a $3 billion 0-cents AI company, and I'm the one who saved Bennett Logistics from bankruptcy by acquiring it last month." The room erupted, gasps and whispers rippling like a wave. Dad's face went pale, his mouth open. Olivia froze, her eyes wide with shock. Mom clutched her pearls, tears streaming down her face. And in the crowd, Victor Klein smirked, his phone already in hand, no doubt texting his leak. "I hid it," I continued, my voice breaking but strong, "because I wanted my family to love me for who I am, not what I've built. But tonight, I learned they value dresses over daughters. And someone in this room knows my secret and wants me dead for it." The crowd parted as Daniel stepped forward, his presence commanding. "She's telling the truth," he said, his voice booming. "Emily Carter is a visionary, and Synaptech saved 2,000 jobs. But more than that, she's shown more integrity tonight than most of you will in a lifetime." He turned to Dad, his eyes sharp. "William, your daughter saved your company when 3 banks turned you away. You should be thanking her, not banning her." Dad's face crumpled, pride and shame warring in his expression. Emily, is this true? Yes, I said, stepping off the stage to face him. I wanted you to see me, Dad. Not the CTO, not the billionaire, just me. But you couldn't. None of you could. Mom sobbed, reaching for me. Emily, we didn't know. Why didn't you tell us? Would it have mattered? I asked, my voice soft but cutting. Would you have stopped mocking my clothes, my car, my life? Olivia pushed forward, her face a mix of jealousy and desperation. But why live like that? If you're so rich, why dress like this? Because I don't need to prove my worth with a gown, I said. You do. The crowd was silent, their eyes on us. Then a slow clap broke the tension. Victor Klein stepped forward, his smirk venomous. Quite a show, Ms. Carter, but secrets have a way of getting out. Like, say, your little acquisition deal, or the fact that your precious code might already be in the wrong hands. My blood ran cold. He knew. Somehow he was connected to the thug, the note, the chandelier. And Olivia? Her guilty glance confirmed it. She'd been feeding him information. Maybe not knowing the danger, maybe not caring. Victor, I said, my voice steel, if you're behind this, you'll regret it. Synaptech's code is locked tighter than Fort Knox, and I'm not afraid of you. He laughed, but his eyes flickered with unease. We'll see, Emily, we'll see. Daniel stepped between us, his voice low. Klein, you're out of your depth. Back off, or I'll make sure every investor in this room knows what a snake you are. The standoff was electric, the crowd holding its breath. But before Klein could respond, security burst in, their radios crackling. We found something, one shouted. A device in the garden. Looks like a gas canister. We need to evacuate. Panic erupted, guests scrambling for the exits. My mind flashed to the thug's threat. Bloodbath. This was their backup plan. I grabbed Dad's arm, pulling him toward the terrace. We need to get out, now! Emily, what's happening? He asked, his voice shaking. Someone wants me dead, I said, and they're not stopping. We ran, Mom and Olivia behind us, Daniel guiding the crowd. Outside, the night air was sharp, the bay's waves crashing below. Sirens wailed in the distance, police and paramedics closing in. As we reached the lawn, a figure emerged from the shadows. Not the thug, but a woman, her face obscured by a scarf. She held a phone, its screen glowing with a live feed of the ballroom. You should have listened, she said, her voice cold. This isn't over. She vanished into the crowd before I could react, leaving me with a chilling certainty. This was bigger than Klein. Bigger than my family. Someone was pulling strings. And I was their target. As the police secured the mansion, Dad pulled me aside, his eyes wet. Emily, I'm sorry. I was wrong. About everything. You're my daughter, and I failed you. I wanted to believe him, but the hurt was raw. It's going to take time, Dad, I said, but thank you. Mom hugged me, sobbing. We'll make this right, sweetheart, I promise. Olivia stood apart, her face a mask of guilt. Emily, I didn't know Klein would... Save it, I said, my voice cold. You chose status over family. That's on you. Daniel approached, his expression grim but proud. You handled that like a warrior, Emily. But this isn't over. Klein's just a pawn. We need to find the king. I nodded, my resolve hardening. The Gala had exposed my secret, but it had also ignited something in me. I wasn't just a CTO, not just a daughter. I was a fighter. And whoever was after me, Thug, Klein, or the woman with the scarf, they'd underestimated me. As the crowd dispersed, I looked at the mansion, its lights flickering in the chaos. Tonight, I'd lost my family's illusion, but I'd gained something more: the truth. And with it, the strength to face whatever came next. The air on the terrace was thick with the scent of salt and fear. My heart hammered against my ribs, the echo of the mysterious woman's words. "This isn't over?" Clawing at my mind. I was Emily Carter, 35, CTO of SnapTech, a $3 billion 0-cents AI empire, but tonight, I was a target. The Tiburon Mansion's lights flickered in the chaos behind me, the Gala unraveling after a gas canister threat forced an evacuation. My family, William, Catherine, and Olivia, stood on the lawn, their faces a mix of shock and shame after I'd revealed my secret on stage. I was the one who'd saved my father's company, Bennett Logistics, from bankruptcy. I was the billionaire they'd mocked for my thrift store dress. But the victory was hollow. Someone wanted me dead, and the shadows were closing in. I clutched my phone, its screen glowing with the anonymous email I'd received mid-gala. "You can't hide forever," with a photo of me on the terrace bench. The threatening note from earlier, "Reveal your secret or you'll regret it," was still scattered in pieces somewhere along Highway 1 where my tires had been slashed in a car chase. The spiked drink, the chandelier crash, the thug demanding my code, and now a gas canister. Every incident screamed conspiracy, and Olivia's guilty glance as she laughed with Victor Klein, my rival CEO, hinted at betrayal closer to home. What had the thug meant by skeletons in my family's closet? Was it her, Dad, or something darker? Police sirens wailed, their red and blue lights painting the mansion's facade. Guests milled on the lawn, their couture gowns and tuxedos absurdly out of place in the panic. I scanned the crowd for the woman with the scarf. Her live feed of the ballroom burned into my memory. She wasn't just a bystander. She was orchestrating this. But who was she? A competitor? A disgruntled employee? Or someone tied to the skeletons I didn't yet understand? "Emily?" Daniel Harper's voice cut through the noise. My billionaire investor strode toward me, his silver hair glinting under the floodlights. "You okay? That was one hell of a speech." "Bear," I admitted, my voice shaky. "Thanks for backing me up in there. But this," I gestured to the chaos, "this isn't over." His eyes narrowed, his usual charm replaced by steel. "You're right." Klein's still smirking. "And that gas canister wasn't a prank. We need to get you somewhere safe." "Safe?" I laughed, bitter and raw. "I've been chased, drugged, and nearly crushed tonight. Safe isn't an option." He gripped my shoulder, his voice low. "You're not alone in this, Emily. I've got your back. But you need to tell me everything, starting with why you're so sure someone's after you." I hesitated. Daniel knew me as SynapTech's CTO, the genius who'd turned a dorm meat algorithm into a global powerhouse. But the personal stakes? The note, the thug, the email, felt too raw to share. "Not yet. It's complicated," I said, deflecting. "Let's just say someone knows more about me than my family ever did." Before he could press, a commotion erupted near the mansion's entrance. Paparazzi, their cameras flashing like gunfire, swarmed a group of guests. My stomach dropped as I recognized their target, me. A reporter in a cheap suit shoved a microphone in my face, his voice gleeful. "Emily Carter, is it true you're the secret CEO of SnapTech? Why dress like a nobody when you're worth billions?" I froze, the flashes blinding. My simple black dress, torn from the chandelier crash, suddenly felt like a spotlight. Another reporter chimed in. "Sources say your shabby look is tanking SnapTech's stock. Care to comment?" My breath hitched. SnapTech's reputation was everything. Our AI-powered hospitals, banks, even Pentagon contracts. A PR hit like this could spook investors, especially with Klein lurking. I opened my mouth to respond, but Daniel stepped in, his voice booming. Miss Carter's leadership speaks louder than any outfit. Synaptech's stock is fine and your sources are garbage. Back off. The reporters hesitated, but their cameras kept clicking. I turned away, my cheeks burning, and retreated to the terrace, my heart pounding. The paparazzi's photos would be everywhere by morning. Billionaire CTO in rags, shocks Gala, and Klein would fan the flames. I pulled out my phone, desperate for control, and opened Synaptech's secure server. Emails flooded in, updates on our neural core, a bug in our latest model, a board member panicking about optic. Work was my anchor, a way to drown out the pain of my family's rejection and the terror of being hunted. But the terrace wasn't safe. A low hum broke my focus, growing louder, a mechanical whine, like a swarm of bees. I looked up, my blood chilling. A drone hovered above, its red lights blinking like eyes. It was small, sleek, the kind used for deliveries or surveillance, but this one wasn't delivering pizza. It dipped lower, and something detached, falling toward me. A metal canister hit the ground with a thud, hissing as white gas billowed out. I scrambled back, my lungs burning as I held my breath. The gas smelled acrid, chemical, like bleach mixed with death. I dove behind a stone bench, my eyes watering, my mind racing. Toxic gas, the thug's threat, bloodbath, wasn't a metaphor. I crawled toward the lawn, the drone's hum fading as it vanished into the night. My vision blurred, but I reached clear air, gasping as I collapsed on the grass. Guests screamed, running from the terrace, their panic a mirror of my own. "Emily." Daniel's voice again, urgent and close. He knelt beside me, his face pale. Jesus, what was that? Drone. I coughed, my throat raw. Gas. Someone's trying to kill me. His jaw tightened, his outrage palpable. This is beyond Klein. We're getting you out of here. Now. I shook my head, my resolve hardening. No. Running won't stop them. I need to know who's behind this. He studied me, then nodded, respect in his eyes. You're tougher than most, Emily. But you're not bulletproof. Tell me what's going on. I took a shaky breath, the gas sting lingering. It started with a car chase tonight, slashed tires, an SUV trying to run me off the road. Then a note in my purse, reveal your secret or you'll regret it. A thug cornered me here, demanding Synaptech's code. And now this drone. Someone knows I'm not just William's daughter. Daniel's face darkened. And your family, they have no idea? None, I said, the truth bitter. They think I'm a broke freelancer. Dad banned me from his party for this dress. Mom suggested a maid's uniform. Olivia? She's working with Klein, I think. I overheard her planning to sabotage me tonight to save face. He let out a low whistle. That's a hell of a family dynamic. Reminds me of my early days. I showed up to a pitch in a beat-up Chevy, and the receptionist thought I was the janitor. Kicked me out before I could even speak. 2 years later, I bought their company. I managed a weak smile. What'd you do with the receptionist? Promoted her, he said, grinning. She was damn good at her job once she stopped judging my car. Point is, Emily, you're not defined by their blindness, but you can't fight this alone. His story grounded me, a reminder of why I trusted him. But before I could respond, a new voice cut through, sharp and accusatory. Carter, what the hell are you doing here? I turned, my stomach sinking. Richard Voss, Dad's business partner at Bennett Logistics, stormed toward me. His face was red, his tuxedo rumpled as if he'd been drinking. "I heard you're some big shot CEO now," he spat. "But I know the truth. You're spying for a rival, feeding them our secrets." The accusation hit like a punch. "Spying?" I said, standing to face him. "I saved your company, Voss. Synaptech acquired Bennett Logistics to keep it afloat. You'd be bankrupt without me." "Lies," he shouted, drawing eyes from the crowd. "You're a plant, undermining us for Klein or some other shark. I saw you sneaking around the terrace."
Snaking? I snapped, my anger flaring. I was nearly gassed out there. Someone's targeting me, and you're too drunk to see it. Daniel stepped in, his voice cold. "Voss, you're out of line. Emily's the reason your employees still have jobs. Back off, or I'll make sure the board hears about your little outburst." Voss hesitated, his eyes darting between us. "This isn't over," he muttered, stumbling back into the crowd. My hands shook, Voss's words adding to the weight of the night. Was he just paranoid, or was he part of this? The thugs' skeletons comment gnawed at me. Bennett Logistics had been mismanaged for years. Dad's pride, Voss's temper, shady deals I'd uncovered during the acquisition. Was Voss hiding something? Or was he another pawn? "We need to go back in," Daniel said, his tone firm. "Your family needs to face you, and we need to shut Klein down before he leaks anything else." I nodded, my resolve steeling. "Let's do this." We headed toward the mansion, the police now clearing the terrace. The ballroom was half empty, guests shaken but lingering, drawn by the drama. Olivia spotted us at the entrance, her red gown a stark contrast to her pale face. Her eyes widened, panic flashing as she saw me with Daniel. "Mr. Harper," she stammered, forcing a smile. "I didn't know you and Emily were friends." "More than friends," Daniel said, his voice laced with intent. "Emily's the chief architect of Synaptech, a company I'm proud to back. I'm surprised your family underestimated her so badly." Olivia's smile froze, the title, Chief Architect, hitting like a bomb. "Chief Architect?" she repeated, her voice weak. "Emily, what's he talking about?" Before I could answer, a flicker caught my eye. The ballroom's massive LED screen used for Dad's slideshow glitched. The crowd murmured as my face appeared, not from tonight, but from a Synaptech keynote last year. My name flashed in bold, Emily Carter, CTO, Synaptech. A headline followed, "Billionaire genius behind $3.00 B AI empire." Then a leaked document. Synaptech's acquisition contract for Bennett Logistics, stamped confidential. The room gasped, a collective intake of breath. Olivia swayed, clutching a chair before collapsing, her gown pooling around her. Mom rushed to her, weeping. "Olivia, someone help." Dad, mid-speech at the stage, froze, the microphone slipping from his hand. The crowd erupted, whispers turning to shouts. "Emily Carter, a billionaire. She bought her father's company? Look at her dress. She's been playing us all." I stood rooted, my heart pounding. The hacked screen wasn't my plan. I'd revealed my secret on my terms, but this was sabotage. Klein. It had to be. He'd threatened a leak, and now he'd forced my hand, exposing me to the world. But how had he gotten the contract? Only my board and legal team had access, unless Olivia. Her meeting with him, her guilty glance. She'd betrayed me. Daniel grabbed my arm, his voice urgent. "Emily, we need to contain this. The press is going to eat it up." "Let them," I said, my voice steady despite the chaos. I stepped onto the stage, reclaiming the microphone. The crowd quieted, their eyes on me. Some curious, some hostile, some awestruck. "You've seen the screen," I said, my voice carrying. "It's true. I'm Emily Carter, CTO of Synaptech. I built a $3 billion 0 cents company from nothing, and I saved Bennett Logistics from collapse, keeping 2,000 families employed." The crowd murmured, a mix of shock and respect. I turned to my family, who stood at the stage's edge, Dad pale, Mom tear-streaked, Olivia conscious but shaken. I hid it, I continued, my voice breaking, because I wanted you to love me for me, not my money, not my title, just Emily. But you valued wealth over your daughter. You mocked my clothes, my car, my life. And tonight, you threw me out for not fitting your image. Dad's face crumpled, his shoulders sagging. Emily, I didn't know. You didn't ask, I said, the words sharp but honest. You assumed I was failing because I didn't look like Olivia. But I built this, I gestured to the screen, without you. Without any of you. Mom sobbed, reaching for me. Emily, we were wrong. I'm so sorry. Olivia struggled to her feet, her eyes red. Emily, I didn't mean, don't. I cut her off, my voice cold. You were with Klein, feeding him secrets. You chose status over family. Her face crumpled, but I didn't soften. The crowd was silent, the weight of my words sinking in. Then Daniel stepped forward, his voice commanding. Emily's right. She's a visionary who saved her father's legacy when no one else would. William, you owe her more than an apology. You owe her respect. Dad nodded, his voice hoarse. Emily, I was blind. You saved my company, my life's work. I don't know how to make this right. It starts with listening, I said, softer now. Not judging, not assuming, just listening. The crowd erupted in applause, a wave of support that caught me off guard. But the victory was bittersweet. The threats, the note, the drone, the thug gloomed larger than ever. Klein's smirk from the crowd told me he wasn't done. And the woman with the scarf, her cryptic warning, hinted at a deeper game. What skeletons was my family hiding? Why was Olivia with Klein? And who had hacked the screen, exposing my life to the world? As the applause faded, a new sound broke through, a low rumble, like an engine. I looked up, my blood chilling. Another drone, larger, hovered above the lawn, its lights red and menacing. The crowd screamed, scattering as it dropped a second canister, but this one didn't hiss. It glowed, a digital display blinking. 30-0, a timer. A bomb. Run! I shouted, grabbing Mom and pulling her toward the driveway. Daniel ushered Dad and Olivia, the police shouting orders. The timer ticked down. 29:45. As we sprinted, my flat slipping on the grass. The mansion loomed behind us, its lights a beacon of the life I had tried to reclaim. But now, it was a target. We reached the road, police barricades forming. The drone vanished, but the canister's timer was seared in my mind. Emily, Dad gasped, his face ashen. What's happening? Someone wants me silenced, I said, my voice steady despite the fear. But I'm not going down without a fight. He grabbed my hand, his grip tight. I am with you, Emily. Whatever it takes. Mom hugged me, her tears soaking my dress. We'll fix this, sweetheart, as a family. Olivia stood apart, her eyes downcast. Emily, I didn't know Klein would do this. I swear. I didn't respond. Forgiveness would take time, if it came at all. Daniel joined us, his phone out, already calling his security team. We'll find them, he said. The drone, the woman, Klein's connection. You're not alone. As the police evacuated the lawn, I looked back at the mansion, the timer's glow faint but relentless. The gala had shattered my family's illusions, but it had also ignited something in me. I was no longer hiding. Whoever was after me, Klein, the thug, the woman, they'd underestimated me. I was Emily Carter, and I'd built an empire from nothing. I'd face this storm, uncover the truth, and come out strong. The night wasn't over, but neither was I.